Your love for Calcutta. Why?
I think to a very large extent, the city's made me who I am today, and I can't thank the city enough. I think women just in general are just a lot softer as a species. And, when you get strong women as well, they just create very good discipline within you. So I think one of the things that ended up happening also was this innate need for me to always create safe spaces wherever I am. And this I completely give to the women in my life.
I will not live anywhere else than Calcutta. Calcutta grows on you. Calcutta loves. There's so much love. There's so much warmth. And there's so much, Therao. In Hindi we say Therao. It's stability.
But today, what are we doing? We're still talking about Rabindranath Tagore. So we're looking at the past. In a sense, if we are not able to create our modern day idols today who get the same kind of reverence or notice or attention 10 years down the line, 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, then this generation will be forgotten.
What is Techno India?
Well, nobody's ever asked me that question. What is Techno India? I think if we go to any two people in this state and we ask them, they will say Techno India is an institution. One of them is going to say this, that it is an institution where at least one person in my family has studied. Be it at one of our schools, one of our colleges, one of our universities, one of our skill development centers, one of our computer centers. We basically created the idea of privatized education in the state of West Bengal at a communist time. That's the simplest way to put it.
What's your take on AI? There's so much buzz about AI and AI being the future and people are not going to get jobs and all of that. What's your take on AI?
It's not going to be AI that takes away your jobs. It's going to be people who know how to use AI that will take away your jobs. For good reason. The world is about survival of the fittest. Vibrates so hard that all the negative energies around you stop ceasing to exist. They're scared of you. I really believe in the duality of our existences. I think there is a masculine and feminine side of everyone. That's why I think, when you hear about Ardhanarishwar as well, right?
Yes.
The idea is it's about the duality of existence, and it's always existed. We are nobody to tell you what to do with your bodies, right? And what to do with your minds. We are created as equals and we should die as equals.
I've grown up hearing this and I'm sure you've heard it at some point in time in life. Men who cry are weak. Men cannot cry. Men cannot be vulnerable. I definitely don't believe in it. What's your take?
I think the weakest men are the ones who don't cry because they don't know how to emote. You love somebody, what are you going to do? They're leaving, you will not dive into the deep parts of your life. You will not dive into what it makes you feel. My best day would be one spent around my loved ones, talking about everything and nothing. Just like this amazing conversation that we had, learning from people who are very different from me. This is something I truly enjoy. Somebody teaching me an unexpected lesson. This is something that I really, really enjoy. Feeling love from where I was expecting it the least. This is something I really enjoy. Making music. That is something I really enjoy.
Today, I have the privilege of speaking with the true visionary, Meghdut Roy Chowdhury. An entrepreneur, innovator, and education leader, Meghdut is the Executive Director and Chief Innovation Officer at Techno India Group, one of the biggest education conglomerates in India. He's the founder of Offbeat CCU, an experiential learning and co-working space, and the driving force behind Y East, a platform for sustainability and social impact. From launching his first venture, Blooper House Studios, at just 19 to leading cutting-edge initiatives in education, innovation, and entrepreneurship, Meghdut is redefining how young people learn, create, and succeed. Today, we'll uncover the lessons he's learned, the mindset that fuels his journey, and the advice he has for young people looking to carve their own path. Meghdut's life is truly an inspiration. Hi Meghdut, thank you so much for being here. It's truly my honor and privilege to have you as my guest. And I'm in awe of you, so I don't know how to start, where to start, and what to ask you first.
Now you've made it even harder for me. So appreciate the kind words. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know you have a very busy schedule and taking out time for me really means a lot to me. Okay, so like we were talking before we started rolling. So your love for Calcutta. Why?
I think to a very large extent, the city's made me who I am today, and I can't thank the city enough. And the only way I can sort of get closer in that balance. I mean, I'm a Libran, so I'm always constantly looking for balance. I think is to do stuff for the city and not think about when, in what timeline it would pay back, because there is nothing actually called payback. Because my identity and my purpose has now become so intrinsically embedded into the city itself that I only feel like a vehicle through which work happens, right? Especially with our work with Make Calcutta Relevant Again, with young people, wherever there's good work happening, we try to bring focus onto that. Your podcast also seemed to be something that is coming up nicely, and to a large extent, it was also that as a reason for which I decided to come and support it in some way. But it's in any way, I mean, irrespective of the discipline, irrespective of the sector, irrespective of the field, whoever is working on whatever in the city, I'm there to support. So from entrepreneurship to design to education to healthcare, hospitality, and entertainment, just name it. We work with all kinds of entrepreneurs, change makers in general. And going forward, I would like to keep the momentum alive. I feel like a lot of young people have gotten bitten by the bug of doing things for the city as well, doing things for communities. I think so. It starts off like at a smaller scale. You start doing good work for people right around you. Could be your class, could be your neighborhood. Then you start working towards a community. Then you extend it, move towards the city, and then hopefully you can work towards the entire country's development in some way. So yeah, I'm on that journey, and it's a very personal one. So happy to let you know more about specific things if you're curious about them.
Yes, I'm very curious, Meghdut. So I'm from Hyderabad, from Andhra Pradesh, and when I came here 27 years back, moved to Calcutta, it seemed like a city that I couldn't resonate with. You moved here years back. So did you face people being conservative?
Quite the opposite, actually, for me. I mean, I grew up in this city. I was not born here. I was born in Bilaspur in Madhya Pradesh. Now I think it's in Chhattisgarh. But I don't remember that time at all. So for me, all of my growing up years was Calcutta. So I went to school here. I studied here. I played here. I went to tuitions here. And for me, Calcutta was always about freedom of expression.
Yeah.
It was about freedom of speech. It was about freedom of choice. And that sort of shaped me and my character, at least the way I am. So it's also difficult to say Calcutta is this, Calcutta is that, because it's a huge city. It's a lot of people, right? And in different pockets, of course, you would have people having very different experiences. I think from 1 kilometer here to here, you would probably have so many different communities.
Different experiences, different people, with different mindsets.
With different mindsets. So, of course, your immediate environment would have a big impact on the kind of person that you turn out to be. And I perhaps grew up in very, very liberal environments. My parents are extremely well educated. They've never questioned my life choices, unless they've been bad ones, because of course I've had plenty of bad choices in life as well. But inherently, they've always had faith in me, and they've let me in fact, even encouraged me to go out of my way and do things which were not expected of me or expected of people, with my certain kind of circumstances, I would say. So I'm very grateful to them. I also come from a family of very, very strong women. So that's another thing that got imbibed in me very early on. If you grow up around strong grandmothers, strong mothers, then a very strong sister, and then a strong wife, I think it's sort of, you inherently will never think of harming another person, be not even opposite gender. I think women just in general are just a lot softer as a species. And, when you get strong women as well, they just create very good discipline within you. So I think one of the things that ended up happening also was this innate need for me to always create safe spaces wherever I am. And this I completely give to the women in my life. They've always sort of not even encouraged me. I've been reprimanded for, not doing enough, for even doing the bare minimum. It's not accepted in my household. It's not accepted. No, you can't just get away with just being a man and doing the bare minimum. You gotta do better. It's always important. So, I did not grow up in a conservative Calcutta, and even the schools that I went to, I have studied in Birla High School, which was again a very different school from the other one that I went to, which was St. Lawrence High School. And these are again talking, because every time you meet somebody in Calcutta, you ask them which school they're from, because it plays a huge role in your upbringing. I think, Birla High was obviously a higher class school, a lot of competition, ambition. Obviously, I've always been ambitious. I've been good at school, so that was never an issue. But in the social fabric of the school, I think these two schools were very different in that St. Lawrence was a school where all kinds of people could study. Even if you didn't have money, you could go and study there. Back then, I remember this NGO Future Hope, which now I currently work with very closely. They didn't have a school, and they used to send all their kids from the NGO to Future Hope to St. Lawrence to study, and that was perhaps the first time I got introduced to the idea of social inequality. Right, coming from a Birla High School where there was none of that, it was only privileged kids studying. To suddenly in 5th grade, I think I was in St. Lawrence, there was a different board, and there was a mindset of the students. And there was a different class struggle, and there was suddenly I just couldn't live my life without realizing my privileges, And these are things that help. I think, Calcutta taught me a lot of these things. Even when I was, when I grew a little bit older, I was spending so much time in my friends' colleges, like St. Xavier's, Presidency, Jadavpur University. And all of these, again, had very different kinds of people in them, right? So if you went to a Jadavpur, you would get people from, Jadavpur Engineering, for example, would have a very different set of people from Jadavpur.
All walks of life.
Right? Yeah. All walks of life, all parts of Bengal as well, all parts of India. Like, people have come from very rural backgrounds to come and study. And I've learned from people always. I think a large part of my learning process in life, I think, continues to be that from people. I used to read a lot before. Now I just read people, and which is why I love people. Like, I'm inherently an optimist, hyper social person who's on a little bit of a low energy today, so the coffee is really helping. But yeah,
so that's why I said I'm in awe of you, because the more when I wanted to have you as a guest and I started reading about you, I just fell in love with what you're doing and how you're doing it, and how you are enriching the whole society. So it's not just about you, it's about the whole society. And, holding hands of the youth today, which I feel are somewhere distracted by the social media. So how do you feel working with the youth?
It's like a love and hate affair, I think. No, I love working with young people, mostly because there's so much to learn from them. They come from a very different time. So the rules that we knew growing up, or our parents knew, they've completely changed. And that's a generic statement that people keep saying that, at the end of the day, you're a result of the times in which you grow up in. And of course, kids are distracted because suddenly, you have all of the information in the world in your fingertips, whether you're using it for good or bad. There's nothing called objective reality. So I don't know what that is. But one thing is for certain, they can't focus on stuff as much as the previous generations perhaps could. But again, holding them accountable for it is also difficult in a way, I feel, because we are the ones who've created those circumstances for them to be in that today. Our generations are the ones which created big tech in the way that we know them, the internet bubble, the rise of social media. These are it's our doing. So then at some point, you can't blame kids for, getting caught in that particular web or in that trap. So I work a lot with kids also of underprivileged backgrounds. I think there is a lot to be done, not just in this city, everywhere that we are, and especially when it comes to not just realizing my own privilege, but working against it. How do I make more opportunities available for those who don't have those opportunities, who were not born with silver spoons in their mouth, who did not even have the basics growing up? For me, this is a big part of my vision for a better city. Because if we're not all growing together, then none of us are growing together. None of it makes sense. Just, in silos, suddenly one part of the city becomes very, very active and has hyper growth, but the rest of the city becomes poorer, has lesser opportunities. It's not growth. It's not inclusive growth. And this, I think, unless we embody it and work towards it every day of our lives. It's also not something that you can immediately wake up and change one day. It's not going to happen. It requires a certain mindset. It requires a lot of courage. I'm not saying I'm courageous, but I do have to work on a very upstream path every day. But I love it. I also hate the bits where I am confronted with an impending sense of doom because it feels like the road is tough, and a lot of people are adverse to change. And changing mindsets is perhaps the hardest thing to do. So it takes a lot of energy. So thankfully, I have been given a fair bit of it by whoever's out there. So trying to use it in the best way for.
Like I said, when I came to Calcutta, the mindset was something that I couldn't resonate with. But later on, I realized sometimes when you stand for what you believe in, people tend to follow you, or people tend to hold you.
Yeah.
You know, you find your own support system. Maybe not the exact people that you want support from, but you will find your people. And today, I'm telling you, I will not live anywhere else than Calcutta. Calcutta grows on you.
Absolutely.
Calcutta loves. There's so much love. There's so much warmth. And there's so much, ठहराव. In Hindi, we say ठहराव. It's stability.
Yeah.
Because when I go to Bombay, when I go to Delhi, now even in my hometown, when I go back to Hyderabad, I don't belong there. There's no stability. Everybody is in a race. Everybody is rushing. And Calcutta somehow feels home.
Yeah, because it lets you choose its pace also.
Yes.
I mean, you can also have a very active lifestyle, or you can have a pretty laid-back lifestyle, and it supports both. It doesn't judge. Calcutta is not a city that judges. Right?
And you can live what you believe in and the way you want to.
Exactly.
Like you can walk out in your casual clothes and nobody is going to turn around and even look at you thinking, what is the person doing? But you can't do that in other cities because there's so much happening.
There's not that much social expectation, I think, in terms of how you look or, what you come across as. This is definitely a lot more relaxed in this city, I feel. Lets you be.
Yeah, lets you be. That's what I said. Now I will not go anywhere other than Canada. So, Meghdut, you started very young. You had your first business when you were 19.
Mm-hmm.
So how? Like 19 is not an age where you think of business and you started your own business. And
I mean, I think I was pretty late. Like because look at kids today. You have kids as early as like 5 years old going out and selling cookies and opening a lemonade stand, or I don't know, doing small little bits of business. I think even when I was in school, I was trading stuff, like little Pokemon Tazos or whatever cards that we had in school. And this was part of who we were when we were growing up. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family, so there was always sort of that idea of learning from situations. And when you businesses or let's say trading or anything that you do is sort of a way of testing out what other people are like. It's a very interesting exercise, actually. So from that perspective, that's the reason what I love about business the most, is that I get to interact with 40, 50 new people every day. It's insane at some point, because this helps me grow. This helps me. It's almost selfish, I think, in the way that I got into business, because I am a computer engineer, but I realized early on enough I couldn't be behind a computer and code. I was not bad at it, but it's not something that was for me, because I prefer just being around people. What's the best way of being around people and helping them and learning things at the same time? It's like become an entrepreneur. That's
that easy.
For me, it was that. I also come from a lot of privilege, so I will not say it's as easy for everybody.
Yeah.
But and my first business was in completely in something that I loved, which was music. So for me, music is still the one thing that even now when I talk about it, my eyes light up, because it's something that's very, very much a godsend distraction, if I put it that way. I don't think I'll ever make any money with music. I've never made much money with it, but I have done a significant amount of work in this space. And now I know that this is something that'll always be something I do without an agenda. I love working in the world of music.
So you still have that?
Yeah, I've produced more than 4,000 albums, I think, from the city.
Oh, wow.
And I do international collaborations every year. Now I work with global foundations and help them open up things here. We work with this NGO here in Calcutta called Iktara, which has been built by two of the coolest entrepreneurs that I know here, Vineet and Namrata. If you're watching this, I don't know. You guys know how much I love you guys. Managed to build a school with 1,200 kids, first generation learners, all girls from the slums of Calcutta. And we managed to get Tomorrowland Foundation to invest in the school. And we've been doing that now for, the NGO itself has been around for about 12 years. But I think the Tomorrowland Iktara School for Arts and Music, I think it's called, that has been around for 5 years. And yeah, we even hosted the Tomorrowland, entire leadership of Tomorrowland last week.
I read about it.
Yeah, even last week they came down.
It was a great event.
Yeah, it's always a great event with these guys. It's the world's largest music festival, and when they decide to come to your city and support the music education of kids in your city, I think it's a good stamp of approval.
Commendable.
It is, yeah, very much. And I try and work with lots of artisans and artists across the state as well. We work closely with the banglanatok.com. They work with about 45,000 artists and artisans, from baul musicians to folk musicians to people who work with shola and various crafts. So everything in creative industries.
Yeah.
I don't know, so many.
I think the creativity is not diluted, by middlemen and, making it more like a business, but
it's not.
It just, it stays. The beauty of it, the purity of it would stay.
Yeah, because for me, it's more of I look at anything to do with the creative industries as more of a social enterprise, at least in my world. It can be a very highly paid gig as well if you're part of the top 1%. I think, people, the way that the music industry works is very interesting. Before it used to be 1%, now maybe it's more 5%. It's called superstar economics. So 1% of the people make 99% of the money. And the 99% make the rest of the 1%. Now, because of streaming and social media and just being able to disrupt some of these age-old structures, I think it's become more 5-6% of the people make 94% of the money. Something
still
like
a very low number.
But it's still a very low number, and most people really struggle in that space. And if you look at local musicians in India, if you look at, say, Rajasthani folk musicians or classical musicians who are not of the grade A musicians, right? They still suffer to find, and they're very, very talented.
They're brilliant.
They're amazing, but they don't have representation. They don't have any idea of how legal structures work. They don't know how to get a manager. They don't know how to get shows. They don't know how to get their royalty from the music that they are part of, if it becomes viral, for example. And there are certain foundations that I work with also. There's Anahad in Lucknow. So it's not a Calcutta thing, but I work with, again, from across the country. So Anahad does, it's led by this girl called Shuchi, and she does very, very good work also.
That's into music again?
Yes. So they help not just young, they help all kinds of folk and tribal musicians to get representation, to get legal contracts sorted out.
Okay.
And they help make shows with them. They did a show for Apple TV called Equals. They got city musicians and like non-city musicians, let's say, to come and collaborate on projects. So rock musicians and jazz musicians to work with folk musicians, and built an episodic show which did quite well. It was on Z5 and Apple TV, I think. So yeah, we're now looking at doing one where we get international artists also to collaborate with local musicians. But
I saw on social media you were with Rishabh.
Oh yeah, you saw that. Yeah, Rishabh's a friend. From his.
I love his music. I just love his music.
He's very good. He's a very talented guy. He's a talented guy. He's also, I think a lot of things work in his favor. He does, one, he practices every day. So he's dedicated to his art. 2, he looks good. So that helps also. He's good for camera. 3, he deals with a very difficult subject, which is mental health. And he's been doing that through, his time during COVID. He lost his grandfather, and since then he took to music more seriously, because before that he was not performing that much. But he started a on Clubhouse. I don't know if you remember, during COVID, there was an app called Clubhouse where people would just it was an audio only platform. There was no video.
Okay.
But people from around the world could thematically join a certain room and then chat or talk. And he was in those rooms playing music for others to listen. That's how he started off. And he was also Pandit Ravi Shankar's last student. And, it comes from a lineage of musicians, luthiers. His family's from an industry. They make very beautiful sitars. So he grew up into that family. But how he blew up is something that you can only credit to him.
But I think real talent does come out,
I mean, it's a lot of factors. I think you can't generalize it and say real talent comes out. I don't believe in that, because it's I love Rishabh, and he's like my brother. We are, we chat all the time. We have supported all of his shows, but you cannot possibly say that he's the greatest prodigy sitarist that is out there. A lot of factors work towards him creating that image. He does it himself. He's very motivated. He has a global understanding of music. I think that also really helps. He comes from a background of he loves listening to hip hop music. He listens to a lot of jazz, grew up in New York. So these factors end up increasing his horizons of understanding of world music. And I think that makes him a better musician. That makes him a better, that gives him a better understanding of what people would want to hear. It's also not just what he's playing.
Maybe the connection too helps.
The connection, sometimes the fact that he sings as well. A lot of things work. He dresses a particular way. He puts on mehendi. I don't know why we're talking so much about you, Rishabh, but I guess you do that. People in rooms where you're not there, people are still talking about you. And we've supported all his Calcutta shows. We've supported the one upcoming as well.
Yeah.
We will. And he had come to our campus actually last time after one of his shows, and we were doing a happiness fair. He's like, let's go. We're going to go do some music with the kids. He's like that.
Nice,
He brought his parents along. We had a great time. So, but that's all. That also works. He's simple. He's uncomplicated. He wants to be close to the people that he's doing this for. And then you get all the love. Whether that particular model can be replicated is something I don't believe in. I don't think you can cut, copy, paste that model. And for anyone else as talented, would it work that way? No, probably not. They would have to probably find their own niche, own set of factors which would lead to them becoming as successful, perhaps. But also, let's keep in mind that the idea of success is very different for different people. Rishabh loves limelight. He likes being center of stage. He loves the adoration. This is him. He's a peacock. He loves it. I'm a peacock. I love it. If I were in his place, I would have probably wanted the same thing. Most classical musicians don't want that. They want to be known for purely their music. There's a reason why even today in Calcutta, you have a Doverlane Music Conference where even at 4 a.m, you have people listening to music. It's 2 hour, 3 hour long sessions. It's not the social media idea of music. It's not the 30 seconds of a TikTok reel that goes viral and suddenly puts you into fame kind of music. So it's not, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but let's also not generalize and say, this is the reason why he became this, or if somebody else did that, would they become famous? Probably not. I think everyone has their own journeys, and people become big because they are meant to be, or because they have a divine blessing.
Yes. So coming back to journey.
Yeah.
How did music make or help you grow as a person?
It still helps me grow, I think, as a person. Initially, it was listening to old records with my grandma. That was, I think, my first introduction to the world of music.
Gramophone,
Yeah. So my dadu, my grandfather, had a Grundig. He was the first person in our family who went abroad to study. So when he came back, I think he had a gramophone, he had radios and things that back then were not very common, I guess. So very early on, I got introduced to that entire he had these super old records and I got to listen to them. And then we had cassettes, and my mom was also one of those people who just always, be buying cassettes and making me listen to random stuff. So all of that. And then parallelly, this was mostly Indian music that I was listening to, classical music also. And then at some point, I think with, I bought my first pocket money, I think I bought Come Away With Me, the Norah Jones record. And then I also started listening to Beatles somehow. And then the MP3 generation came up. And then I got introduced to a lot of rock music. And then there was no going back. I was listening to Grateful Dead, Led Zeppelin, grew up a big, rock head, got into metal, then got into hip hop, got into everything that there was to know about music. And I was like, this just makes me very happy. And all kinds of music make me happy. I could be listening to classical in the morning and, next moment I could be listening to very, very heavy death metal, which is something that I think back then my family probably did not really understand. Like, why is he blasting this weird music in the room all the time? But they never questioned it. They were like, makes the kid happy. Let him do. As long as he comes first in class, we don't care. I think that was their logic on pretty much everything.
Be busy.
Be busy, do well in life. The rest of it, we'll overlook all of that. So that was good. And then I started the studio, I think, when I was about 16, 17 years old. I was already having very serious conversations with my musical friends in the city. Particularly one person, if I can think of, was a big contributor to that, was my senior from school, Shombit, as Pandit Shubhen Chatterjee's son. And I'd seen him being very dedicated to the world of music. He's a drummer. And even when he was in school, everyone else was preparing for their board exams. Shombit was playing drums. Always. So I was like, okay, there's somebody who loves this world as much as I do, but wants to make a career out of it. So let me understand the intricacies of that world. So that's when we started talking about it. And he said, Meghdut, there aren't any studios for independent musicians in the city. Most of the work that happens in music goes into the hands of people who are doing it for the money. There is nothing that is there for people who do not have the money as much yet. Maybe in the future they will do. So I said, okay, let's do something for them. Then let's build a studio. And I knew I wasn't a very good musician, but I had so many good musician friends. I was like, if you guys give me a little bit of money, I'm sure you can do it. Maybe we can do something good out of it. And that worked out really well. I got to spend a lot of time. There was a selfish thing again. I got to spend a lot of time around my musician friends, learn about what was happening in the world of music and support their journeys in that process. And that helped build the studio. Then I ended up building another venue afterwards called Top Cat, where we supported a lot of artists. It also became a comedy club at some point. I don't know why I do what I do, but I don't know, somehow things with music make me really, really happy and satisfied. And I think around the time I was 26, I discovered that I liked dancing a lot. And this is something I didn't know about myself at all.
Okay.
So this was a big revelation. I used to live in Israel at that point of time, actually, and I discovered dance music. And that was my last sort of change in the way I thought. And I think I've been dancing through life ever since then. Music connects me to the divine.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think music does that.
For sure.
Like for me, my first encounter of classical music was Rabindra Sangeet.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. So the days I was down, I would just play it and it would uplift me in a way nothing else could.
If you said this to a Bengali, that your first foray into classical music was Rabindra Sangeet, some people would really not agree with it, because Rabindra Sangeet is not really classical music. Yeah, no.
Okay.
There could be some of it which has taken from classical music, but in our parlance, it's still really... it's a different genre. It's not considered classical at all.
And that was my closest understanding of classical music. So I thought this was classical music.
No.
Sorry for that, but
no. It is still. It's a different kind of music. I think he was a genius and he created a certain kind of music which you can't really put into any bucket like that. He created music for every mood, every emotion, bhav that we said. Prottekta bhaber jonno ekta alada গান আছে. So that's something that's very unique to Rabindranath Tagore. But we are in the land of music. I mean, Bengal has given rise to so much great music.
Art, culture, music.
Yeah. Everything. So I think to a large extent, it's also on us to sort of keep evolving on that. I think the reason why Rabindranath Tagore is still considered a great is because how ahead of his time he was in terms of the music that he wrote. But today, what are we doing? We are still talking about Rabindranath Tagore. So we're looking at the past. In a sense, if we are not able to create our modern day idols today who get the same kind of reverence or notice or attention 10 years down the line, 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line, then this generation will be forgotten. There are no greats like that currently, I believe, that are coming out of Bengal in most of the fields. And if there are some of them, they're maybe not currently working out of Bengal or out of Calcutta. So that's a big loss for us. They're contributing to perhaps the GDP of the country overall, but they don't find enough to do in Calcutta. And that's where sort of our fight is also, that how do we create better opportunities for people to continue their journeys in Calcutta. And
many people are leaving Calcutta and going for, because they feel there are less opportunities. Mm-hmm. But I feel Calcutta has a lot of potential, because people, there's so much to do. Other cities have established and, MNCs have taken over them. But here it's still, I think, home. It's still very, untouched.
Yeah.
So I feel there's a lot of opportunity to do a lot of things.
Yeah. The city has a very special signature. I think that is unmistakable. Even before you had asked me where would I want to live or what my favorite city is, it always is, has been, Calcutta. Always will be Calcutta. There's no coming back from that.
Oh, lovely, Meghdut. It was very, very interesting. And so how come music to education?
It's not really disparate, right? I think as human beings, the human experience is about getting a taste of everything, is what I believe. I think one could have interests as far and wide as one possibly can enjoy, I guess. And their education was also to a large extent about social growth, about supporting the livelihoods and journeys of younger people. And that comes from, again, that social changemaker aspect of my character, which has also been brewed by my family who come from a background of education. So I think a lot of factors played into it. But I think my first tryst with really education at a grassroots level happened in my very early 20s. I used to live in Brazil, in Salvador, Bahia, which is not the most sexiest part of Brazil, let's say. A lot of crime on the streets, a lot of drugs, not like in proper hardcore stuff. And this is where I was teaching kids how to not be gangsters in favelas of Brazil.
That you were teaching?
Yes, I was part of this global community development project where we were working with kids of gangsters, of crime lords, of sex workers in these kind of areas where we were helping them not take on the same lives of their forefathers or foremothers. And it was about changing their realities through music, through dance, through art, distracting them positively.
Yeah.
And that was possibly the first time I realized how transformational education can be. And when you can see the impact directly, that lowering crime rates and seeing how an idle mind is a devil's workshop. They say, right? So suddenly even the parents who were otherwise involved in other things, suddenly when they saw that their kids are in a more positive environment, surrounded by positive people, they were very happy. They were willing to change their own livelihoods in some way to accommodate the future of their kids. And I think that changed something inside me. That was also 14 years ago now. So it's been a while. And that coupled with my love for the city and for how I want the city to grow, I don't think you have a better lever for social change than education. So it continues. It will always be part of who I am.
So what is Techno India?
Well, nobody's ever asked me that question. What is Techno India? I think if we go to any two people in this state and we ask them, they will say Techno India is an institution. One of them is going to say this, that it is an institution where at least one person in my family has studied, be it at one of our schools, one of our colleges, one of our universities, one of our skill development centers, one of our computer centers. So we basically created the idea of privatized education in the state of West Bengal at a communist time. That's the simplest way to put it. Built the first private engineering colleges, built the first private chain of schools, also built the first private university. 100 years after Rabindranath Tagore built Vishwabharati University. We also used to run the largest group of computer training centers. And the group started about 40 years ago. So it was my father who built that in the time of Jyoti Basu, when private education was not really a thing. And currently we serve about 100,000 students at any given point of time. We have the largest alumni base in the country. We have 1 million alumni that have gone through our institutions, and we operate in 8 states of India. So Haryana, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Orissa, Northeast, we have a couple of campuses, Tripura, Meghalaya, and we have campuses in Bombay, in Delhi. So, and Calcutta continues being our base and our headquarters. So it's a lot of students, sort of from young to, we say kindergarten to PhD level students all across. And that gives a very interesting angle in this whole journey as well, because suddenly I have access to a lot of young people who are tomorrow going to go lead the world. And if you're able to imbibe certain good qualities within them and help them and mentor them on their growth journeys, I think we get closer towards really having a significant impact in our tomorrow. So that's something that we're doing.
So what is Techno India offering that you might say, I don't know, but the other universities are missing out?
I think we've always been sort of ahead of our curve because we come from a background of technical education when there was no other ways of doing, computer, like privatized computer education. There was no other places that you could go to. So we've always been very innovative and ahead of the curve. And that has not changed about us. We are also, for example, Google's largest partner in India for education.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how did Google step in?
I mean, I called them.
And
I convinced them that we need to do this together because Google has, say, for example, access to a whole bunch of professionals who are absolute rock stars. And if they are able to mentor some of the kids, some of the brighter kids who are coming out of our campuses, then we are able to have a much larger delta in their lives.
Yes.
So, Google agreed to partner with us with very high quality standards in our education. And we call it the School of the Future. We're really doing this education for looking at what would be the skills that would be required 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Not looking at what's happening now, but really looking at the future. And it's quite fascinating. I mean, even just thinking that our first year students got to go to the Google headquarters and pitch their projects, that I think is unheard of.
So inspiring and so proud. Yeah.
So I'm very proud of my students as well. They're constantly challenging us and building their own companies from from first semester onwards, going out and pitching their projects to everybody who comes to their campus, even people who don't come. Like they're doing great work, and it's our responsibility to make sure we provide the opportunities that people around the world are getting, and give it to our students ahead of its time. That's one example. We also, IBM is a big partner for us as well. Even this year we've signed on so many new programs with them. But what's interesting, it's not about the individual partners that we have as well. It's just the mindset of the university, of the kids coming from the universities. It's quite a different, innovative mindset, I would say. That's what we try to imbibe within our students. Even if you don't end up going and becoming entrepreneurs, you still think like an intrapreneur. You think about positively contributing to whichever sector that you're going to, and whichever company that you're working with, whichever organization that you choose to be part of. And hopefully it's going to be interesting. When we can only, I don't know, I mean, again, there is no end to how big this could get and how many more people we could serve. But I guess we're also at a time where we're going in deeper into each of the students' journeys. We're able to use data analytics to really give more personalized care to the students or help them figure out what they should be doing in life. It's a lot of work. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. This question has no end. I could go on about what we are doing. This is my everyday life. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So what's your take on AI? There's so much buzz about AI and AI being the future and people are not going to get jobs and all of that. What's your take on AI?
I mean, it's not going to be AI that takes away your jobs. It's going to be people who know how to use AI that will take away your jobs for good reason. I mean, it's the world is about survival of the fittest. At the end of the day, no matter what you say, you and me sitting here having this conversation will not make a dent on the universe. Market forces will. If the market decides that something is going to happen, then nothing that an individual does will change it. I mean, even if you look at, let's say, even within the world of AI, OpenAI had a huge advantage. Suddenly it was democratic AI. People were using ChatGPT and everyone's phone had ChatGPT. Suddenly everyone felt all so powerful. I am God. I know how to access all the world's information, all of that. And then overnight, China comes up with DeepSeek and suddenly $3 trillion blown out of the economy. So nothing's constant, really. I think it's, at the end of the day, I have a hypothesis on this. People don't necessarily always want new things. They also don't want new ways of doing things. People like stability. People like, say, for example, if something works, you want to stick and hold on to it. So wrappers that are being built on AI products, which people get very used to using, I think that stuff will stick on. If you're a lawyer using certain tools to get better at your legal job, if you're a student using certain AI tools to get better at being a student, and the platform itself is robust, and no matter what platform, what LLM it's using at the back, I think at this point, I don't even know if we know the exact differences and we care about if this is 0.25% better than another one. I don't think it matters that much. What matters is understanding human beings. And if we are able to understand human beings, we will be able to stay ahead of the curve always. Be it with AI, without AI, I don't think that will change a lot. It would not matter. However, the problem which I see here is that certain corporations are also getting an abnormal amount of access to computing data. And that is, I do see that as a problem, because then you have a lot of power in the hands of a few and they start acting like warlords. I mean, today, any of these tech giants and their CEOs, you'll see even in the way that they dress, even the way that they talk and present themselves is very different from the mid-2000s tech CEOs. They're not in their T-shirts and hoodies anymore, they're all in their fancy suits. They're wearing, expensive tailored stuff, bomber jackets. They want to showcase this sort of ultra machismo, sort of a very macho kind of a feel. And there are very few women in that as well. It still continues to be very, very male dominated, ultra rich people with very concentrated power, enough power to shape governments. We can see that, with what happened in the US now as well. And this is a little bit concerning because then the very purpose with which AI was built, that, okay, it's going to make the common man's life easier. And it's going to be a tool that is available to all to help get better at your job or to have more time to chill and do things that you actually love. Then that very purpose is changing. Then suddenly it's again back to another even more heightened rat race on who can get ahead of the curve, how much faster, take each other's jobs, and creates, I think, unnecessary competition and a lot of stress in our lives. I have an ultra human now. I get notifications when my life gets too stressful, so I know when to breathe. It's important. It gets harder and harder to breathe. I mean, and that's not just because of the pollution, but I don't know if that's the world that, I don't have kids yet, but when I do not know if that's the kind of world I would like to bring them in. The more time I spend with myself, or with myself or people, even with my wife, we speak about this enough. I think we would not want such a solitary existence,
existence,
where people are on their phones all the time and talking about how, I don't know, like this ultra competition thing. I mean, I would rather bring up kids very much away from screens and live in forests and learn how to do things with their hands, grow from nature. And I would definitely want to homeschool my kids. In the city right now, I don't think there are any schools that I would want to send my kids to. So I'm very...
Homeschool is coming up in a big way. Definitely in the West, yes. In India, I've not heard a lot about homeschooling.
There are a lot of people are doing it.
Yes.
I think another model I'm looking at now is I talk to a lot of people about. I was asking you about your kids, right?
Yes.
Your kids are a little bit too old. I didn't have a lot of things to connect on.
Yes.
I don't know what to do. 22-year-old kid, so matlab, I am very far away. I haven't even started the process, but I'm doing my market research on various kinds of models of schooling. Now, one model I really love is the idea of co-parenting homeschools.
Yeah.
So basically, like 4 or 5 families come together, and each of their parents who are, they teach each other's kids, and then you have like basically 10 very bright kids coming out of a homeschool that everyone benefits from. That's something I'm looking at with a few of my friends who I really love and adore and respect, and I see their values, very aligned with my own and with my family's. I would probably try out a model like that and see. So I don't see how it would work otherwise. Yeah, very difficult in a regular circumstance of a school.
Probably. It is, and I think school has become such a part of, what children should be doing, going to schools, making friends, learning from the teachers, just moving away from the whole thing, the conditioning, I think. So,
yeah, I mean, they still need places to go out and play with other kids. I think that's going to be very important.
Yes.
Make sure there's enough community spaces for them to build social skills, to build a healthy competitive spirit and all of that. But I just, at least at this point, if you ask me, I don't think... I mean, you didn't ask me. I don't know. I'm rambling on about what kind of schools I would want to do.
I'm loving it. Just.
No, I think it's more of an internal dialogue about the schooling situation. And unless and until I'm able to build out a school for kids before that, which is really built on certain principles of alternative learning, I think I'm not ready to put my kids into any school. At this point. It'd be a risk, I feel. Yeah. So.
I would say it's an interesting conversation and yet so informative as well. So, tell me, Meghdut, do you believe in spirituality?
Mm-hmm. I do. I mean, if you asked me this question 3 years ago, I probably would have said not really. Grew up an agnostic to the point of being an atheist, almost. But I believe that the idea of spirituality cannot be embedded into you by others.
It cannot be.
It has to come from within. And I think the last couple of years I've had sort of a spiritual awakening. And it's a very personal journey on that. I think I've always been very curious. And at some point you realize that not everything that you see in the physical world can be really explained. Just things like energies. Like I'm a huge believer in like the transformative power of energies. Like certain people, when they walk into a room, they can make a room light up.
Yeah.
And on certain days, the same people are not able to do the same thing because they themselves don't feel in the same energy, right? So even things like, there's this guy on the internet that I was watching, this black guy who talks about vibrations, and he says this thing so beautifully. He says, vibrate so hard that all the negative energies around you stop ceasing to exist. They're scared of you, that you always live in a heightened state of energy.
Yes.
And I've been very gifted that way. I think I come with a lot of energy in general, wherever I am. Whatever I do, I bring a certain kind of energy into it. And I started questioning that. I was like, why is it that people tell me these things? I'd meet a new random person. I meet a lot of people in general. I told you, I love meeting new people. And so it's always one of the things I hear the most about myself is that, oh, I love your energy. Like, wow, it's so nice. I feel refreshed. And I'm like, I'm not even doing anything. I'm just being myself. Why do people say this? So I started getting in a little bit deeper on that thought. Am I different? Am I weird a bit? Or like, what's going on? And then these conversations with my wife as well. She's becoming also a super spiritual person. She gets a lot of solace in sitting around like calm environments. She went to her first Vipassana, then a second one, and now she does this like regularly. And I started taking, understanding from her, because I always thought I was not meant for these kind of places. I'm not much of a meditator and all of that. And, she was like, what I love is the fact that at least you're questioning yourself on that. That it's just because I have been a particular way for 33 years does not mean that I have to be the same way for the rest of my life. So for me, that's where I am in my spirituality journey, questioning a lot of things. And what it brings to me is more questions rather than more answers. But that is
You're a seeker right now.
I've always been a seeker. I'm a very curious person. I'm constant. I'm like a sponge, always just like grasping information and knowledge from everywhere. And just what this podcast has been, more than a podcast, I think has just been like an internal monologue that I am vomiting out here.
I'm so glad because I didn't want to speak about anything that's available on the internet. I wanted to know Meghdut as a person. So tell me more about growing around strong women. I truly believe women make the men in their lives, especially sons. So how did that, make you a better man or a better husband, or what generally?
I think I really believe in the duality of our existences. I think there is a masculine and feminine side of everyone. And that's why I think, when you hear about Ardhanarishwar as well, right? Yes. The idea is it's about the duality of existence, and it's always existed within that. Some days you wake up and you feel very masculine and you want to take charge of the world and all of that. And then some days you feel like you just want to be taken care of. And, and both of those exist within us. And for some reason, bizarrely, a country as advanced as ours, which has traditionally been so in touch with its dichotomies, and it has been so in touch with the realities of diversity as well. Like, people are different. Everyone's different. Why did we decide to conform ourselves to these ideas of, okay, this is a strong male archetype, this is a strong female archetype, and then you can't, really mix between the two? And I think these are things which have always sort of confounded me a little bit, or made me not uncomfortable, and just, again, more questions, right? So being around strong women, what it did for me was, first of all, establish a clear sensibility in my head that, yes, women are getting, are able to break out more of their glass ceilings more and more in today's day and age. But we still live in a very male-dominated society. We still live under circumstances where men get to take decisions on our actions even now. And that's across the world, not just in India, across the world. Yeah. So all power structures in some way have men on the top. There are some women, but they are still not the ones choosing most of these, most of the decisions based on which society moves forward. So growing up around strong women got me to realize that if I could be an ally in helping more women break through the glass ceiling, that should be something that I absolutely should focus on. If I could be a supporter in women getting more agency for things that they absolutely deserve to do. I mean, we are nobody to tell you what to do with your bodies, right? And what to do with your minds. We are created as equals, and we should die as equals. And that has been a constant struggle also for me to not just do this myself. It's also having a lot of conversations with people who have a certain mindset. That this is a gender role. In a house, a man is supposed to do this, a woman is supposed to do this. I mean, in my house, we both do everything. We actually end up doing a lot of nothing because neither of us cook very well. And then at some point, it's just like, oh God, we've just eaten out after the fourth day. Then you're like, okay, we probably need to get a chef. We got a chef in our house after 3.5 years of living in a house by ourselves because we thought we could manage, but it was not very smart. But that doesn't mean we don't share our roles and responsibilities. And when we bring up kids, it's also something we want to imbibe in them from the get-go. that there is nothing called a male gender role. There's nothing called a female gender role. You need to be able to, if you're a woman, you also need to be able to carry the groceries up your, up your staircase. Like if even now, I mean, if I tell my wife that, hey, let me help you with your bags, it's like, I would love for you to do it, but I am a strong woman as well. Do not tell me what to do. If she feels like it, she'll ask.
Yes.
Like, can you help me with that? But it's okay. I am happy to propose, but I don't have to accept the fact that she would always want that out of me. It's little ways in which I think we can create a better society, more inclusive society, create a society where we don't have to end up typecasting ourselves and then missing out on a large part of the human experience. I think there is a lot to learn from everybody, and these are little ways in which I work on it. And
so you're setting up a very good example.
For non-toxic men, perhaps, yes. I think that, this idea of unnecessary mardangi is something that I'm not fond of. And I think that has been absolutely built into me by my very strong grandma, my mom, all of them. And and you as a man also, you need to take charge of things as and when required, but don't do it to demean others.
Yes.
Don't do it to steal away others' power. I mean,
and understand that they are powerless, and that's why I have to do this.
Be a supporter. Don't take advantage of a situation just because you have a larger voice, you're bigger, and you feel like it's a way that I can steal something that doesn't belong to me. That's the issue that I have with. We work with a lot of young, like changing these stereotypes within young people as well. We recently concluded a 5-day workshop called Warriors of Love, where
I love the name.
It's a cool name.
Love. I love the name.
So it was started by 2 Swedish men, very, very masculine. One of them is an ex-elite police army training guy, 30 plus years in the army, like elite forces, so hardcore. The other is a jazz drummer, also very hardcore, big guy, big beard, very very Viking looking guys. And I met them in Sweden last year, and they've been trying to promote this idea of non-toxic masculinity for young people. So both men and women, so that they are able to deal with each other better, create less tension in society. I mean, Sweden currently, or if you look at the Scandinavian countries, it's creating a very opposite problem where women have started becoming so masculine almost that they don't let men do anything at all. And that in that process, also men suffer, like they're not able to find their masculine energy in some way. So I was very intrigued by this idea. They said, what we would really like to do with this gift that we have is we want to bring it to people who don't have that kind of access, knowledge, information, privilege. So we brought them to Calcutta, and we ran this workshop with young people who run NGOs in the city. And we ran it for 30 people. And you will not believe the kind of results we saw, the way that there was camaraderie, there was brotherhood and sisterhood being formed, the relationships that they were starting to have with the younger people that they actually were serving. Like these kids were all between the ages of 18 and 25, I think. But they are constantly working with kids who are like 4, 5, 6 years old. Suddenly they felt like they were nurturers. They were also here to support the journeys of these younger ones. And that created a whole different dynamic in their own NGOs. And all the people who run the NGOs, the founders of the NGOs, they were blown away by what they saw. It was really like changing society bit by bit.
So even the participants, I'm sure they had a life-changing experience.
It was completely incredible. I think, they were doing breath work and getting in tune with their bodies and listening to their own hearts for the first time. That was pretty interesting. So little things we continue doing. And I mean, we keep talking about stuff that we do on this. It's going to take hours, I think. And I like doing a lot of things. For me, it's my way of dealing with my ADHD. I have very severe ADHD. I was diagnosed when I was 27 years old, I think, by a business partner who had 2 kids who have ADHD. And he said, you realize that you can't sit still in one place. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. I was saying that when I was like... And that's why I do a lot of things, and this
Correct,
helps me
yes.
keep calm. This helps me, like when I'm focused on a task, like right now I'm focused on this conversation. I'm hyper focused. I'm not thinking about anything else. I can do this for 10 more hours. No problem. I don't care about what's happening in the world. And when I'm doing my tasks like that, I found a rhythm in which I can make sort of my brain, I made it into sort of a superpower actually now. So I know what to do, when to do.
So, Meghdut, I'm just loving having this conversation with you,
Me too.
understanding you as a person and, diving into parts that I think you usually don't speak about.
Yeah, but you're doing the job of a great podcast
Thank you
host. You're
so
making
much.
it
It's a
easy for me to have
huge
this.
compliment, huge
You're
compliment.
making it very easy for me
Because
to talk.
I feel that, if I know you better, I can, make you understand that my purpose is here to do this. And I think the viewers will benefit only when they know what kind of a wonderful person you are. Okay, so I've grown up hearing this, and I'm sure you've heard it at some point in time in life. Men who cry are weak. Men cannot cry. Men cannot be vulnerable. I definitely don't believe in it. What's your take on it?
I think the weakest men are the ones who don't cry because they don't know how to emote. I think again, this is a problem with hypermasculinity as well, and the way it's viewed, because in today's society, at least our previous generations, if you look at them, they were used to a certain sense of, okay, I'm not going to air my dirty laundry in public. I will not showcase my weakness outside. But that also lowers your relatability, I feel.
Yeah.
I cry quite a bit. I mean, more often than not. And when I cry, it's like deep crying. Like you get so into your own feelings and emotions and about why certain things made you feel certain ways. Like as recently as 3 days ago, my sister who lives in London, she was in town for 2 weeks and she left. And I gave her a hug on the road and it stopped traffic because I was leaving her and couldn't go to the airport with her. And then she left and the tears welled up like you have right now, right? And this is the most obvious thing. You love somebody, what are you going to do? They're leaving, you will not dive into the deep parts of your life. You will not dive into what it makes you feel. And I texted her, I'm like, you suck. You left and I have to go out somewhere now. It's like 11:30 at night and I'm in my car and I'm crying, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad every time somebody that I love makes me cry. Because without that, the extent of the human experience is so banal. What's the point? And if somebody makes me laugh, we call them a comedian.
Yeah.
Right? We call them a comedian. We pay them money. Like, okay, paisa lo. And, you've made me laugh. You've made me have such a good time. But think about it. Have you ever thought about positively of the people who've made you cry because it makes you feel lighter afterwards?
Yeah. I've grown up with a very, very emotional dad. So my father was very, very caring, very loving. And that's what my version of a man was, Like my mom came first, children came after her. And he had no qualms about, crying in front of us if he felt sad that we are hurt. Simple. We've fallen from a bicycle, and the first thing we see is him crying. So that's what I have grown up with. And suddenly, when I see men who want to hold back everything and believe that being strong is not showing your love and, not expressing it to people you love, like that's the basic. And that makes me very sad. Very, very sad.
Yeah.
So seeing you today, actually, I'm very emotional because, I really admire men who can do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a lot of social conditioning, I think growing up in a country like India where we're constantly striving to put up the best versions of ourselves because there's so much competition inherent in society. You can't have a society of 1.5 billion people and expect people to also showcase their vulnerability as much because it's a competition. It's every day is a competition. You're hustling to be the best version of yourself. And even if you're not, you're taught to fake it till you make it. showcasing weaknesses falls into the same bracket. And who loses out? It's the people that love you.
People love
because they're never able to see you in the entire vastness of your emotional ability. It's super sad. Like I love my dad to death. I love him. I'm very inspired by him. I respect him a lot. But in a lot of cases, he would not be the most relatable person. Because I've rarely seen him cry.
Yeah.
Right? My mom, on the other hand, she cries a lot. She's cried in front of me. I've cried with her. And if one was to ask me who am I closer to, I would 99 times say my mom, because it's just more relatable. And I fight with my mom also a lot more on that. Don't get it wrong. Like we have
a difference of opinion. That's fine.
That's and then we cry it out and we hug it out and it's all good. I think again, having a strong mother also helps you know that, when you're not crying, you're not emoting enough. That's also a lesson in it. There is definitely a lesson in that. Don't be afraid of going into the deep end of it. And today, if I see the relationship with my own sister, and the way that when she talks about her friends and about how she's growing older, she says older, she's like 23 years old, but she's got the body of a 23-year-old and the mind of a 65-year-old. She talks about her peers also in a different country, in London. She's facing the same issues with her peers, because most of them have this ideal that men are not allowed to emote, men are not allowed to showcase, and that have made them poorer parents.
Yes.
And the kids suffer. And that has also broken so many families, because you've not been able to bridge that gap through just hugging it out, through showing your love. I think crying is also in some way showing it. And
it's not that they don't feel it.
Yeah, of course they feel it.
They feel it.
You're a human being.
Everybody loves their children. Everybody loves their family. But
you're feeling it, but you're choosing not to show. And then are you doing justice to your job as a parent by not showing it?
I think what my father has taught me, my mother couldn't. Because my father taught me that being vulnerable is the most beautiful thing you can be.
100%. If you think about it also, let me connect that to something in the world of business. I think and you were talking about a very emotional perspective about it, right? It's actually scientifically proven in a team, if you are the leader of the team, let's say in whatever way, you're the boss of the whole company or the boss of a particular department, if you're vulnerable with your staff and with the people that you work with on a day-to-day basis, it makes you more relatable. It makes you come across as a better leader than if you were to have a unidirectional relationship with them, right? It's something even in my office and the guys who work with me, I hire very young people. I love working with young people in a way that provided they have crossed over that place of just getting distracted constantly. That is not going to work. But once you're in that space of, okay, I have a purpose, I want to do this, I then bring in people who are much younger than me into my team. And I'm not ashamed to just be myself with them on everything, not even just the bad things. Like, yes, of course, bad things, you take the fall for a mistake that they've done 100% of the time. Like, it's not your fault. It's okay. Should have come and told me earlier. Doesn't matter. I will deal with it. You don't have to deal with it. But also the good things. Like when we go out, I'll take my entire team out with me. I will happily be witness to them in their stupid moments, in their funny moments, in their emotional moments. You have an issue at home with your boyfriend, with your partner. I mean, bring it to me. Don't bring it to the office. But if you're struggling with it, bring it to me. I'm happy to listen to it and just listen. I don't even have to react. I don't have to do anything. But just know that, I'm not your boss only. I am here to support in your life journeys. Another thing that I've seen that happens is, we end up having a very short-sighted view of life in a lot of cases. Say, for example, an employee. They have done something wrong that you believe is wrong. Again, there's no right or wrong. There is no objectively nothing called right or wrong. So you believe that has been wrong in that particular circumstance. Now, you tell them that, hey, I'm going to let go of you from this project, from this team, repurpose you, reposition you, whatever. In that whole thing, they leave. something happens. You end up burning a bridge. I think that is, especially with younger people, it is the worst thing you can do as somebody in power, because these little experiences that they gather over time, it becomes triggers for them in later in life. They'll have PTSD from that moment, because you could elegantly get somebody to understand, and then even if required, let them leave, but don't burn a bridge. Don't break that relationship. It has happened so many times with me that somebody who was not relevant anymore in their position, or they found something else, or in whatever situation, they've left. 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, they've come back, interned with me again, worked as a consultant with me, built businesses with me.
Because of the connection you've had.
Because of that connection that we've had. And it's not a connection of somebody that, will take a short-sighted view of life. Life is very long. We don't know. We barely scratch what. I'm 33 years old now. I have seen very little so far. I know that all of these people are going to be part of my life in a very later time in life as well, especially if we like each other. If they've done us good, if I've done them good, then this better continue later on in life as well, right?
So I have not done even 1/4 of what you've achieved at such a young age. And just because I'm older, I'm telling you that, understanding of life, understanding of people at such a deep level is hats off to you. Hats off to understand. And I think you're setting very good examples for the youth, even for us. I've learned so much from you today, and understood so much more about life myself. So it's not, I think the age does not matter. I think it's how you think and what you perceive of people. So, Meghdut, what does your best day look like?
That's a very difficult question, actually. Part of me wants to say my everyday. That's the part of me that's proud, and that wants to showcase, Meghdut in the best light. That is the part of me that wants to, be perceived as a leader. It's like, oh, my everyday looks like the best day because I hustle and I do this. But I think my best day would be one spent around my loved ones, talking about everything and nothing, just like this amazing conversation that we had, learning from people who are very different from me. This is something I truly enjoy. Somebody teaching me an unexpected lesson. This is something that I really, really enjoy. Feeling love from where I was expecting it the least. This is something I really enjoy. Making music. That is something I really enjoy. A lot of people, when they have very bad days, when they're very tough days, they go home and be like being by themselves. I don't enjoy being by myself unless there's music around. So I can dance for hours. So that is also at the end of the best day would finish with a dance. But up until the end of it, I'm so exhausted that I can't
dance.
Any dance, which rarely happens. I can do that for hours, and then I lull into a good sleep, maybe a nice sleep meditation at the end of the day to put myself in the right mindset, and then next day I wake up fresh. So a good day would be all of that, and definitely some good food as well. So food would be very... Oh, one more thing I forgot. Preferably without a phone around me the whole day.
That's ideal.
That would be ideal, because otherwise this notification situation is not good. I don't have any notifications on my phone. I don't really take phone calls and stuff. But again, I can say that because I'm a little bit privileged, very privileged. But a lot of people still have to do that. I can choose to be in touch with people when I want to. Most of my work days, even that choice is taken away from me because you're in such cutthroat situations. This is not what a regular day looks like for me at all. It's early morning to late night.
Meetings.
Yeah, meetings and conversations, and not necessarily about things that I enjoy very much. It's necessary, but it's not necessarily appreciated always. So a conversation like this is a lot more appreciated.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
What is gratitude to you? And do you practice any kind of ritual for gratitude?
I used to not be very good at giving compliments. I've been a little bit full of myself. My wife says this very nicely. She says, when I met you, you were this person who was very good at things that he did, but almost too much. And that would rub off on her a lot. She's very different from me. She's been sort of the calm to my chaos, So, and these were conversations that were never having with myself as much. And she said, there are so many people who say nice things to you. Why don't you ever say nice things back to them?
No.
I'm like, but because I don't mean it. I was like, but who cares? Like, even if you don't mean it, sometimes say something nice. Right? You'll see how it feels. Back then, it didn't really, I think, make a lot of sense. Today, I think it makes more sense. I think an expression of gratitude, even if it's not 100%, I mean, I'm not saying be inauthentic in it, but just saying thanks for little things is not something I was taught almost to do. India is not a country where we do that very often. We don't do that. It's almost like to people who are close to you, you will not say thanks. Like, oh, can you help me?
We don't say thanks. We don't say I love you to our parents.
Yeah, what the hell? Why don't we do that? And this was weird for me.
Yeah.
And because I married a non-Indian person, so then suddenly, even for some simple things like, oh, hey, can you switch off the light for me? They're like, yes, and what?
Yeah, what's the word?
Thank you. You're supposed to. What's the word? Oh God, suddenly I have to unlearn a lot. But these little things, I think, helped me become more grateful for the little things in life and for all the people who did the little things in life around me. That helped me become a bit more grateful, I think. And suddenly, it helps also reduce your ego. I think ego is a very inherent part of our existences. It's very hard to be ambitious without ego. It's very hard to grow without your sense of ego. But it's very important to know when to ask your ego to take a back seat.
So ego and self-respect.
Yeah.
There's a very thin line. Yeah.
Wow, this is getting to a place which I was not expecting it to get to at all. I think self-respect is always important. Ego is not always important. That is the thin line.
Is ego important?
Ego is important.
It is important?
Ego is important because otherwise we lose track of ourself as well. It's almost, I think, no matter how much people say this, or leave ego out of the door when you come in, all of that, you would be like a rudderless boat in the vast ocean of human experience if there was no ego. Because ego is also what keeps you connected to who you are, who you want to be, your purpose. Without ego, you can't reach into those parts of yourself. Yeah. So it's important. But letting ego get in the way of you being a semi-decent person, I think is where it starts being less important, right? That's when you still need self-respect at the end of the day, like, because a person who does not respect themselves can't respect anybody else.
That's for sure.
Which is very important, which is where I think that thin line between ego and self-respect is. But at some point, you do need to tell your ego to shut up, because then it's not important anymore. There are times
you
where...
need to figure out when...
Yeah, that's also growing up a lot, right? That's a conversation that we need to have with ourselves. This is when you need that calm. I guess when people pray, why do people pray? Why do people meditate? You want to connect to something, to yourself, maybe to a higher being, maybe to the sound of the universe, the Om, or, when
So I had something very beautiful somebody told me was, when we are kids, when you're a baby, you're just happy. All the time, you're just happy. Because you've just been born, you've not been touched by the world. You have that innate happiness and peace that you're born with, which everybody's born with. Slowly, as you grow up, you tend to keep losing it. And then we're trying to find it in the world in terms of appreciation, in terms of, achievements. And But that's the peace we are looking for, that we are born with. So I think that's why prayers, meditation, and staying with yourself, and doing things in life comes because we're looking for something that we're missing out on, and that's the only peace that we were born with.
That we knew that we were born with. I think a lot of people, the privileged ones truly are the ones within whom their inner children are very active.
Truly believe in it.
Yeah. So I think you don't look like you have a 22-year-old daughter. And
Thank you so
I don't
much.
mean this in a flattery kind of way. You just have a youthful demeanor about yourself. I think that happens because you've learned about life.
So till date, I write letters to my inner child.
Yes. I love that exercise as well. It's so beautiful. When you know that your inner child would be happy and they would be out and about in the current playground that you're in.
I get so many answers to questions today when I write letters to my inner child.
Like, what would they have done if they were in your place?
What would they have done if they were in my place?
Yeah, I think it keeps us younger. People have told me that I still look like early 20s, mid 20s.
Yeah, I didn't think
20s.
You were 33.
Yes.
Yeah,
and every time I'm like, yes, I'm doing something right. I think I'm really in touch with.
You're doing many, many things right, Meghdut.
We'll see about that now. I still don't take compliments very well. I'm learning to give them better.
Okay, so let's try this on this podcast. Okay, Meghdut, you're doing many things that are inspiring, and you're doing everything good.
If I wasn't so brown, I would be blushing so hard right now. But no, I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope to not get distracted by all the noise. It's easy to get distracted, I think, especially in a city like Calcutta, where there aren't that many people to look up to. Suddenly you do a couple of things right, people start looking at you, and people start almost looking at you differently, like, oh, you're doing good things, and then suddenly the compliments flow a lot more easily, and suddenly you find yourself in the middle of the limelight in every room. And then you have a personality like mine where I love the attention, so it's it doesn't help. But I don't want to build.
But you're too aware to get carried away, I think.
I don't get carried away more now. I think it's been a lot of unlearning, really, and having a very, very I don't want to say critical, but yeah, my wife is very critical of my behaviors a lot, and because she's very grounded. I think that's something that's helped me. She's become like my wire that grounds me to.
That's beautiful to have a partnership like that.
Oh yeah,
you're blessed.
Push each other so much on this. I mean, on different things, but I push her a lot more to just live more, and she pushes me to ground myself more. And I think it's very like beautiful coexistence on that. And then also we inspire each other quite a bit. I think that helps when you wake up next to a person who.
And when you have that person with you as your life partner, I think it's beautiful.
It is. And I could not enjoy it more. I think making the most of every day of my life. So, yeah. Well, that was a heavy conversation. That was a lot.
Thank you, Meghdut. I just loved every bit of it, and I have never been emotional on a podcast, but yeah.
See, again, you were building into the trope of like, I'm the podcast host, so I don't have to be emotional, and I can keep up a calm exterior.
I've got into such deep conversations, but I don't know why. The minute I saw you, the minute I walked into this room, and it was okay in the beginning when we were talking about work, but later on when we started getting into conversation, I knew there's something much more deeper than I need to get into and know the person very well.
No, I think this can be the brand of your podcast. I think
you so much.
Get so deep into it that your guests need 2 days to recover from it. They're texting you 2 days later. Suman, sorry, I needed to take time off of the internet. I've gone into like a whole introspection space.
Oh my God, you've just been giving me compliments and I just have to say thank you. I take compliments well now.
You did it to me, so now I have to return it to you.
It's
been a pleasure. Thank you everyone for watching. And if you are writing comments on the podcast, then make sure you tell Suman to continue on this on getting deep in with her guests, because I think she's got that ability. And I've said it to the audience. And
Thank you.
Unless you decide to cut it out of the episode and not keep it in the final cut. But it's been truly a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Meghdut. It was truly, truly a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Same
Thank
here.
you. I'm Suman Manaksia, a success coach, passionate about redefining success. For me, success isn't just about personal milestones. It's about empowering others and creating a ripple effect of positive change. I firmly believe that to truly excel in life, we need to cultivate essential skills like problem solving, emotional intelligence, decision making, and resilience. These aren't just tools for professional growth, they're the foundation for navigating every challenge life throws at us. And that's what this podcast is all about. It's not just a series of conversations, it's a life university designed to help you learn and grow through real life examples. By hearing the stories of inspiring individuals, you'll discover how these skills can empower you to make a meaningful impact on your own life and the people around you. So I request everyone, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for updates.